very special good morning going out to everybody who's watching us. Today is Friday. Thank God it's Friday. My name is Kwame Usudan. So welcome to the News Period segment here on your #1 station, Pan-African Television. It's going to be a memorable morning show this morning, particularly because two of my favorite friends are here. We're waiting for Honorable Ebi to join us. Nonetheless, we're going to be touching on a number of issues here, which issues obviously are very topical. Burkina Faso ex-president freed from detention. Ghanaian Times newspaper. We've managed economy better than John Dramani Mahama Bawumia declares. Professor Daya, unhappy with government use of 21 billion to kill 9 banks, says it's partly responsible for economic crisis. Contractors cast doubt on Akufo-Addo's 10,000-kilometer roads claim. That's on the front page of the Inside newspaper. I've been joined in the studios by Samu. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I trust you are well, sir.
Inshallah.
You started the fasting.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
And then
Mashallah.
I'm in a very high spirit.
Alhamdulillah.
It is the best month of the year.
Right.
Inshallah.
Right. Bernard Abataila Mona is also here today without his red beret. I don't know why. So,
I cannot do without it.
I was wondering, where is Thomas Sankara's? So I trust you well.
I'm very well.
I'm sure you'll be very interested in the first story.
No, I'm well in health, but I'm well in
your pocket.
And the economic decay has reached alarming proportion. Because when you said you wanted us to eat kenke, I reminded you that I'm in fasting.
I'm telling you, and beyond the fasting too, the pocket is dry.
Then I saw my brother
Samu
trying to remove money, and the shape of the money that he removed.
They're very discouraging.
This one till you bring it on
They just told me that Masa Enkoye.
Because some of them I know would have been bringing out 200 notes and this.
Masa,
this one, Charlie.
No, don't mention it.
But at least he did something. At least because he's fasting, why would he be carrying money around?
That's it.
Someone is fasting. That's what
circumstances like this.
It's meant for alms giving.
So he's giving me alms this morning. So I appreciate that someone has sponsored my kinky this morning. You know I don't joke with my kinky. Now I'm looking all funky this morning. Kind courtesy, my B body zone. She's a colleague here at Pan-African Television. She has a nice boutique. I'll be dragging Benabona and Samu there so they can also go and buy some polo shirts and some side pockets. I love it. I just wanted to be funky today. Approved by, I actually say FDA, but wife D. So I'm allowed to be on air today, even though I'm funky. Right. So call my B Body Zone on 0247 361864. Don't call her at dawn, please. When you call because you want to buy Lacoste or Polo or whatever. Don't call her at dawn. 0247 36.
But is there a problem with dawn calls?
Oh, how can you call somebody at 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. and it's not right. Even after 9, it has to be an emergency.
She must indicate business hours.
But business hours, business hours.
She must indicate.
Oh, no. Maybe 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. is fine. But after 10...
I don't know that because...
I'll be ungodly.
Because if I am in China and I want to order some...
Oh, you won't order from China. When China you produce...
No, you order for some so that they will take it to your community and give it to somebody.
Okay, then, when you order, that one will take those orders.
Then you tell me that because... You know the time variation between Ghana and China.
Those are exceptional.
About 9 hours.
Those are exceptional cases.
6 hours. So,
Mabi Body Zone. Yeah, so call Mabi Body Zone on 0247 361864. All right. Let's proceed. Yes. Yes. So it will be day and then. So the day that they say Jesus Christ will come, I don't know how the time difference is going to be.
He didn't appear in China.
Where did he appear?
No, he didn't appear in China.
Anyway. All right, so Burkina Faso ex-president or maybe Kaswa, who knows?
No, Tamale.
Okay, Kaswa is possible.
Let me start with you on the first story. Thomas Sankara can finally rest.
So, which one is the story?
Burkina Faso ex-president freed from detention.
So, which one is the ex-president?
What's that?
I thought that they are talking about...
in fact, no, I just wanted to touch on that briefly.
Yeah,
because
but they are talking about Roch Kabore.
Yes.
Who was recently...
Yeah, I know. What I'm actually saying is, because this has to do with Burkina Faso, I want us to
read
look at
here.
all. Oh, no, I've seen this. I was listening to BBC, so I know this one. But what I'm saying is that you should be happy because Thomas Sankara has finally,
gotten justice.
Yeah, gotten justice, so you can rest.
Well, let me start by saying good morning to my bearded Sabo, and then of course to you. I don't know why you chose to describe yourself as looking funky.
Funky, yeah.
I thought that you are okay.
Oh, thank you.
You are okay.
Thank you.
Today, rather, you are looking a bit gorgeous than when you put that thing as if you are a tethered goat. You're looking good. You're looking good.
And the camera is also on me. People in the FCI.
You know when you put on that that thing, and then you look like a tethered goat. Sometimes I just like how
you have to drag me.
I want to just hold the rope and pull you.
Oh man, well, can't see my big body zone, my big body zone.
To the usual latecomer, Alhaji Ebi Hussein.
Where is he, by the way?
Well, you are the one I should ask because I'm
Bless. Where's Bless?
First, let me salute the people of Burkina Faso that nearly after 28 years, they have been able to bring about some sense of appeasement to the family and to many Africans as to why Thomas Sankara, a great personality, a great influencer, a clear visionary whose ideas could help to blossom and change the total configuration of our continent, was killed at such a prime age of 37. And for several years, I've had the occasion to go to Burkina Faso.
Oh, I see.
And anytime I go to Burkina Faso, I have gone 3 times to a grave that they purport to be that of Thomas Sankara. And anytime I get there, I offer my salute and I bow to one of the greatest that Africa has produced. To many feminists, Thomas Sankara was a great promoter of feminism and the role of women in our society. For many who believe in self-reliance, Thomas Sankara epitomized self-reliance when he chose that within his short period, the people of Burkina Faso, a desert area, would start to produce foods of all kinds. He constructed the dam, the biggest dam in Burkina Faso. Within that short period, you could see that cotton production had expanded. And when cotton production expanded, he chose that he would not wear any apparel or any apparel made from any garment apart from Burkina Faso cotton. And when he appeared at the OAU, now AU, in 1987, he and his entire entourage were dressed fully in everything that was made from Burkina Faso cotton. And he displayed it. It was at that point that he indicated that the issue of debt for the African people was a colonial crisis, and that debt had everything to do with colonialism, and that the African people never owed anybody until colonialism came. And when colonialism came, it decided to take away African resources, not only in terms of the natural resources, but including the able-bodied men and women. Don't forget that according to Walter Ruding, that persons between the ages of 15 to 25 were carried, and 2 men to 1 woman, because they didn't even want the blacks to mingle So they gave one woman to two men. They carried these able-bodied men and went away. So Burkina Faso, through Thomas Sankara, established the nexus between colonialism and the debt crisis in Africa and debt overhang. And he said that, look, if the rest of Africa did not pay the debts that they owe, the world will continue to flourish. You understand? The rest of the world will continue to flourish. The international institutions and then the Bretton Woods institutions will not collapse because Africans have failed to pay their debts. But if Africans decided to pay their debts, Africa will not exist. They will die. Do you understand? And to that extent, we cannot pay our debts. We cannot pay our debts. And he established that nexus strongly and ensured that he called on the African people to say, look, they should support him so that we'll tell the world that, look, you have exploited and extorted from Africa so much. The debt that we are owing is because you decided that what you have taken from us and you have become wealthy, you now give to us as loans. You can't do that. If we want to get back to you, then it means that you should be paying us much more money, much more compensation and how do we call it? Appropriation.
Remittances?
Not remittances. Repatriations and what?
Reparations.
Reparations. So he said they should pay us. But since we are not demanding it until recently when Senegal and Abdoulaye Wade started to make that claim, so they should ignore the debt and let's start on a new slate. But he warned the rest of the African continent that if they did not back his call, that he will leave this African Organization of African Unity meeting and that he will not return because the rest of the world will come at him and then they will kill him. He was a prophet. He was a prophet. When he left, he got back to Burkina Faso and then he was shot and killed. He was lured into a meeting. Now, take note of this. The experiment that he was doing was, look at Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire, proximate, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the experiment that he was doing was in opposition to the experiment that was being carried in Cote d'Ivoire under Houphouët-Boigny. Because Houphouët-Boigny and the example in Cote d'Ivoire was for France to establish that those who were darling boys of France and acquiesced to being poodles of France, this is the model country that we want to. So when they realized that Burkina Faso was rising, by the way, the name Burkina Faso was brought in by Thomas Sankara because he used to be called Upper Volta. And he yanked it away and brought Burkina Faso, which means land of the upright people. You understand? So they were not happy to see that, hey, this young man just came and all of a sudden, look, there was economic grace for his people. They became food self-reliant. They know it was considered a desert country. Yeah. Jacques Chirac came and he told Jacques Chirac that, why? You people are supervising the murder of Africans. You should stop it. And so when he said all these things, the people were not happy. Eventually, they orchestrated that he should be killed. And the people had to enjoy the full benefit. And so who else could they have used than his best friend
and brother,
and their second in command, because the coup and the struggles were led by him. So Blaise Compaoré was always by Thomas Sankara. And so they organized a meeting at the headquarters of his party. And when they got there, before they could say Jack, they opened fire. And so he told his people that, look, this shooting is not targeted at any one of you. It is targeted at him, Thomas Sankara. So all of you should stay here and I'll go out. It is me they want, not you. So he went out to go and face the bullets so that he can save the rest of the people. All the other people that were with him, they were all killed except one. They were all killed except one. And so anytime the issue of Thomas Sankara came as to who killed Thomas Sankara, you realize that Blaise Compaoré has always been uncomfortable in many interviews. You understand? He only said that it's unfortunate, but they have to move on. And so several years, that is 27 years afterwards, when the people of Burkina Faso said enough was enough, and they massed up and then they sacked Blaise Compaoré. He actually fled to Morocco initially, first to Cote d'Ivoire, then to Morocco and back to Cote d'Ivoire, where he decided to change his nationality to being an Ivorian. They have, under pressure from the wife, they have constituted a tribunal. When the tribunal did all the investigations, about 12 people that were paraded as being complicit in this. 3 of them have been given life sentences. That is Blaise Compaoré and his 2 aides. Then the others have been given mitigated sentences of about 2 to 10 years. I think that this will suit particularly the wife, the children of Sankara.
Even the youth.
And then it will also bring to the fore that it doesn't matter how long a crime takes. Justice will one day pursue you. Today, Compaoré, with all the wealth that he had garnered, serving the country, with the aura of leadership that he garnered, he is in exile of his own country, self-imposed exile because he ran away. He has chosen that having been a citizen of Burkina Faso, in order to avoid justice, that he is now an Ivorian. It may take time, but I'm not sure that the Ivorian people can continue to provide him the shelter that he wants. He must go and face the justice within Burkina Faso. See, Alassane Ouattara can give you temporary cover, but the law will catch up with you when Alassane Ouattara is no more president of Cote d'Ivoire. And so I think that, look, all of us should be happy that Thomas Sankara, a revolutionary, an icon of the African liberation and the African personality, even in death, his place and role in humanity is now magnified. The young people in Burkina Faso now appreciate the content that was made of this man, and I think that is good. Today's story is on the ex-president Christian Roch Kabore, who has been freed after the recent coup d'etat. Kwame, I told you before the coup d'etat that I got some information that some countries within the sub-region were going to suffer revolt, and Burkina Faso was not excluded, particularly when the EU inspired the ECOWAS sanctions on Mali, and it took Kabore to read that statement when they came to Accra. My friends in Mali told me that Burkina Faso will not, the president will not survive, because everybody knew that the EU, and you can understand why the EU was putting pressure that ECOWAS should issue sanctions on Mali. Because Mali is a francophone country. The French government had been in Mali, claiming that they want to breach this terrorist incursion, taking place in Mali. Because some towns like Timbuktu and other places from the north of Mali were being captured by these insurgents, Tuareg rebels. And so France simply jumped in to say that they wanted to prevent that thing. For 9 good years in Mali, you rather see that the rebels got more powerful. They will strike here, and then the French people will go and be there. But all that we got to realize is that they were taking the uranium and other natural resources from Mali and Niger to France, because now they will not allow the Malian soldiers to get into that area. So they occupied that area, and then they extracted and also repelled the rebels by themselves. So this is what France was doing for 9 years. Stealing the resources of the Malian people. So soon as there was this change, moving IBK, Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, from office, the military simply decided that, no, France, you have been here for too long. We want to curtail our relationship in terms of this military cooperation. France had to put a timetable, and when the timetable was getting closer, they were happy to hand over the situation to the Malians, knowing very well that the situation would deteriorate when the issue happened. Unknown to them, while these negotiations between France and the Malian soldiers was going on for the handing over, they, on the other hand, were linking up with the Russians so that the Russians can come and help them. You understand? So as soon as the situation changed, and then there was, the France handed over, quickly the Russian troops moved in. And within 3 months of arriving in Mali, Mali started to reclaim most of the lost territories, because the Russians will come, if you are not handing over, they will deal with you. And so they realized that something, and so you saw that immediately France started accusing Russia that Russia has sent mercenaries and whatever. And Russia said, we came in at the instance of the Malian government, and that we are not mercenaries. But when you were there, were you mercenaries? You were not considered mercenaries. You have been there for 9 years.
Nothing has happened.
You understand? And the situation was not changing. So France, being a major player in EU affairs, decided that they should use every muscle to impose more sanctions on Mali, so that the Malian people do not should fight to lead the country to a certain position that they can control. And that is why ECOWAS had to issue the statement. And when ECOWAS issued the statement, was read by Roch Kabore, they said, no, you are one of us. Mali, because anytime I have to go through, sometimes Senegal, I drive through Burkina Faso. I enter Mali before you can go to so you see, they share boundaries. In fact, sometimes you don't even see the difference. You'll be driving until you go and see the borders by the roadside. You don't even know that you are entering another town. You understand? Or another country. So when this thing happened, I told my friends that, Burkina Faso, I thought that Roch Kabore was doing well. But they were serious. And eventually, when the coup came, initially I thought that he was even killed. Because note that his car was heavily shot into. And where he is supposed to be seated, you saw a lot of blood. It's later that I'm told that his bodyguard had to jump to jump so that he would rather receive the bullets.
Wow.
And so that is why you saw a lot of blood, and that they had to pull him out. And then today, after several years of pleas that they should release him from military custody, they have released him. They have put him under house arrest. I hope that he will be able to assist the new government so that together we'll be able to return the country to normalcy. I am not excited about the militarism that is taking place within the Assaf region, but we must caution our leaders. And this, I always say, ECOWAS sit and play what they call territorial integrity, sovereignty of a country. When we were here, and then Alpha Conde changed the constitution to contest a third term, ECOWAS did not speak. When the people rose against him, now you have forgotten that they have territorial sovereignty. We were here when Alassane Ouattara has changed the constitution. He has gone to contest elections. ECOWAS is tongue-tied. You can see that there is an easiness in Cote d'Ivoire since his election. Alassane Ouattara virtually goes out these days. You can see that the Togo situation is in a mess, and we are not talking about it. So when you sit down and supervise all this rot on the basis that you cannot intervene, and then the soldiers also take over. Now when soldiers take over, you say that they don't have their territorial sovereignty. That one, I don't agree with the person. But I think that it is good news to hear that ex-president is alive and that he has been freed to go home. He, at least within his house, he will have all the peace. He will have his medics attending to him and all that. So,
well, thank you, Bernard Mana, for that wonderful political, historical.
ABA has come later.
Of course. Let me welcome the Honorable ABA Fuseni, Member of Parliament for Sagnarigo constituency. Good morning, sir. Of late, I don't hear from you at all, like, not even small. I'm wondering, what have I done? Or what have I not done? So that I will, retrace my steps. Perhaps maybe I've missed one step somewhere, Honorable.
Not when you are wearing funky dresses and you refuse to give him, and you want him to be happy.
Honorable doesn't like to wear funky dresses. Especially
the man who can walk stronger and faster than you.
This matter. Oh, but I thought it's a settled matter.
How can it be a settled matter?
This
man
looks
looks
you've been
stronger.
very quiet. I don't know. What is it? What is it?
Kwame,
No money.
forgot. I said last week here that it's very difficult to smile now than Nana Akufo-Addo. And the Nana Akufo-Addo government, the smiling is a very expensive.
But someone is smiling, though.
Oh, this one is by force.
In fact, I'm even laughing, not just now. I'm even laughing.
You know, there's some very hard laughter. That's the kind of laughter he's laughing.
It's like you go to court and they just sentence you to death and then you are laughing. People are wondering. They think it's a laughter of joy.
So there's a very laughter we call hard laughter.
When someone walked in, I asked for cash for kinky. Better not tell you the rest.
What's happening? Oh,
You see?
if I had done nothing,
But picking no be problem.
Alhaji.
If you money for go.
Alhaji, I said, the notes that Sabo
Better knows how to do a kokosaro.
no. From his pocket. I just said no.
no, but the point is,
Yes, sir.
I brought out that amount.
Purposely for hours.
No. Based on the request. You say you want to. I don't think you need more than that to buy kinky.
When even those sitting on the horseback are feeling the heat, what about those walking barefooted on the ground?
You know, someone is one of the most dedicated women I know.
But you see what has happened. So,
but I mean, I think it's just really for God and country. Sabu, this Burkina issue, let's deal with it and then. Welcome. What are you going to Sagnaru?
Oh, by the grace, we are looking very soon.
Next one, we are going. I will finally buy your plane ticket before you call me in the middle of the night. Come, we are not talking. I was in the house.
It was a harrowing experience.
Called me. Say, Kwame, where are you? I said, Kwame, can you get the people to report? They are under attack. I'm Robert.
On the road.
It wasn't a joke.
It wasn't a joke.
Yes, no, get him to.
I'm telling you.
Kitampo.
Yeah. Then I was making calls. But this matter, hey, and I had to call him again. When I called him again to his phone, I said, God, I'm dead.
So you think that this is something?
It wasn't easy.
No. I mean, it's past. So sometimes
It wasn't easy.
You know, sometimes.
When you go through these experiences,
Oh dear.
they are nothing to laugh about.
You
know, I remember when there was an attack at my residence in Tantra Hill. My son was barely 5 years.
You traumatized.
Up to date.
Yes.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
He still recalls it. You understand? And he recalls
It's
how
a very harrowing
in my hideout, when eventually the situation was stable and I wanted to come out, you know, my entire legs were numb.
How to come out?
Yeah, I just fell down.
You want to hide?
Yeah, why?
And we have to crush like that.
No, I had to, Kwame. You know, sometimes because of security things, you don't have
You don't
say it.
how
you must always have a bunker somewhere.
you know. So I did, and it was that saved me, because then I send messages to all my neighbors, and I'll call. When the call is going through, I'll cut because I can't talk. It was that alarmed them, and then they woke up and started to make noise, and were freed. Because if they don't make noise, they started shouting, "I'm robbers, I'm robbers," and so the people came out firing their guns and taking their motorbikes away. You know, so
these things, you might even think they are robber, but they are not too.
Yeah, it's
They
a
just
harrowing.
political.
This was in 2008. You know, it was terrible. And that night, somehow I had gone to do a program at Oman FM, and I was going home late. And I didn't have credit on my phone. Those days we used to do unit transfers. So I got to the house and I said, no, once I have to come back to St. John's to come and buy the credit. So just imagine that I slept that night without credit on my phone. And this incident
would have
happened.
been disastrous. No, I know. I mean, but sometimes, you know, when these things happen.
So sometimes there is something that is working on you, right?
Yeah.
Because I could have said, so what am I going to do with credit in the night? But I insisted that I have to buy. So I got back to buy the credit. only to realize that that is the credit I had now to use to send messages,
to people.
you know, to now call them and to alert them.
Yes,
Would
to
I
work
just
with
be
them
there?
on
Yeah, it's a crazy experience, honestly.
So
Even in your absence, when you come and your car is begled or something,
Yeah.
the way you even feel, it's incomprehensible.
It's terrible. So
Anyway, Samu.
Yes,
Burkina.
let me take the opportunity to say good morning to our cherished viewers, and then a good morning to my older brother, the Member of Parliament for Sandargu constituency, and my younger brother, the former chairman of the National Convention People's Party.
you guys so confused this morning. The poverty is telling
People's
National.
He said national.
no, I turned it upside down.
Oh, okay.
People's National Convention. Kwame, your good self, your crew, the good people of the New York of Ghana, and the heartbeat of Ghana, Tamale.
Right.
Kwame, frankly speaking, with regards to this Burkina Faso issue, I don't see any difference between the kind of detention that, what do you call him, the ex-president Kabore went through, and that of Hilal Liman in 81. No, 81 that the coup was staged. Oh,
31st
My
December
brother.
1981.
81.
It means that
Don't reverse. Don't reverse the
I am
distance.
telling you, give
I
me
am-
facts. 31st December 1981.
81, 82.
That is 82. He went into
No,
detention in
I want the 81.
81. So
I
you
want the
yeah.
81. In 81. In fact, the same thing, the same circumstances. As we sit down here today, we cannot tell the crime that the ex-president of Burkina Faso has committed or why he was treated that way. Similarly, the same thing, Ilalima, up to date. Even as Ghanaians, we don't know
What he did.
why he was treated that way. But at least we can remember the good things that he did. Even to the extent that the kind of cars that his ministers had to use. Was it the 404?
Pedro.
Yes. And it was one of the most ordinary cars in the country. We remember the free ride of what do you call it, students, yes, on Tata bus. We remember the Liman, trying to revolutionize agriculture in this country. We remember the low prices of goods and services in the country and the rest. And yet, he was treated the same way. Nothing happened within the sub-region. Nothing happened on the continent. The same thing keeps on happening. Today, it has gone to threaten of Burkina Faso. Nothing has happened. And like he was saying, sometimes I find it difficult. When he was talking about Blaise Compaoré is now in Cote d'Ivoire. Meanwhile, he has been sentenced in Burkina Faso. What is the work of ECOWAS? Or is it that ECOWAS does not agree with the ruling or the sentence in Burkina Faso? That he can freely work within ECOWAS when indeed he's supposed to be serving prison terms. So is it not, what do you call it, Cote d'Ivoire is a member state of ECOWAS. So if they allow somebody like that to, be free in such areas, what will be his next move? AU also comes into focus. Because if it goes beyond ECOWAS, then AU must come in. So sometimes I wonder, and it is like these things they keep, because everybody realizes that nothing happens. So I also do it. Nothing will happen. So I'm not surprised. History keeps on repeating itself.
Yeah.
Because nothing. After all, when I do, the best thing they will say that we should negotiate. Nothing will happen. And I will not be surprised that these coup makers, they will be pampered in the long run. So the kind of sovereignty that we talk about, sometimes I find it difficult. I'm not an Englishman. I'm a typical Dogomba man. I'm just trying to speak English and understand English. But the sovereignty that they talk of, I know the sub-region also is in defense of individual sovereign countries within the sub-region. Is that not it? And we as a region too, we also have our sovereignty. So collectively, what is the real definition of sovereignty? Frankly speaking, I find it difficult to understand. That, subjects of a particular state can just rise up, pick up arms, go and attack leadership. And in the name of sovereignty, no any other member state has the right or has no role to play in order to ensure that law and order is in place. Just because there's a word called sovereignty that most of us don't understand. So I feel that if something is not done, and I think this one, it cannot be done by nations, but it can only be done by the leadership of the region, either ECOWAS or the continent, AU, that this is the way we should go as a continent or as a region. That anytime that this kind of move, collectively, this is our responsibility. This is what we do before. Because most often than not, whether you like it or not, although this particular coup was a bloodless coup, isn't it? But some people died. We may describe as a bloodless coup, but people died.
No, this one people died. It's the Mali one, no one died.
Think. Yes. So we normally sit down and wait till lives and properties are lost before we say that state of emergency, what, and all this is covered under this particular word that I'm still finding difficulties to understand, the sovereignty. Not to Franco to God. I don't know where you are getting where I'm coming from. Yes, I find it difficult to understand. So I think what happened in Burkina Faso, none of us was happy. Look at what happened to, like he narrated, Thomas Sankara. Me, Thomas Sankara, I don't know. From day one, it was somebody that I admire so much. I didn't even know. I didn't understand politics. I didn't even know anything about leadership. But he was such a charismatic leader. Yeah. Transformational leader, a visionary, and very, very pragmatic in whatever he conceived those days, and very fast was his ideologies, and he was truncated very painfully. And it is not only Burkina Faso of the then, Burkina Faso before he was murdered. He had already changed the name to Burkina Faso. That received the shock of his death, but the whole of West Africa, because it was something that we're going to be even up to date. I think this agricultural now that we are even getting export of tomato from Burkina Faso, he was the one who initiated all these things. They were already coming down to Ghana to buy their foodstuffs and other things. Yep. So you can imagine if this man was to stay in power for just 10 years. What would have happened? Not only in Burkina Faso, because it would have trickled down to Ghana. And we seem not to care when these things happen. We say they are a sovereign nation, what. There's nothing you can do, and what. But when there is, look at where Liberia is. At least there's Cote d'Ivoire between us and Liberia, isn't it? Yes. But when there was a problem in Liberia, Ghana received the listing of it. Up to date, the remnants of that war is still in Ghana. So what kind of sovereignty are we talking about sometime? Me too, Franco too. It's not like I'm pretending. I want people to educate me on the real meaning or understanding of the word sovereignty when lives and properties are under threat. And we just sit down and say because they are a sovereign nation. I think my brother Bernard have said a lot on this particular lesson, so I wouldn't want to belabor the topic. But I think what I have been talking about, I don't know whether you've also been thinking about those things, because today, in Ghana today, may God forbid, if something similar like that should happen, me and you, then we'll be at the mercy of such people. And Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, they can't do anything about it just because we are a sovereign nation. By the time they'll say that state of emergency, me and you, maybe we are gone. That is where I am coming from. And for all you know, me today, if I go, I don't know how my family will survive. And such people who die, the same thing. They have been, they are breadwinners of other people, wherever they come from. So I think as a continent or as a sub-region, we need to redefine this kind of independence, this kind of sovereignty, and see how best that we can always come in when issues of this nature arises.
Right, so we're still watching the News Review segment here on Pan-African Television. Let me remind you again that the Facebook page is live. Kindly share the feed so others can get the opportunity to watch as well, and leave your comment underneath the Facebook page. Honorable Ibi Husseini, you may want to touch on the African story
very briefly.
Because we've actually spent a lot of time.
Lot of time.
So then let me start with you on the.
I just think that, like we have all said, the issue of democracy and constitutional rule is always preferable to non-constitutional dictatorship, where it is at the whims and caprices of individual strong leaders. And I always believe that, especially when the regime of fundamental human rights and freedoms are concerned, they are better protected than their constitutional order. So no matter the flaws, it is better to err on the side of constitutional rule, and I think we should defer to that.
Right.
Sabo is worried about the principle of sovereignty, which underlies international relations. It's a doctrine, some people may say it's 18th century or 19th century doctrine, but that is what it is today. That guarantees the independence, territorial integrity of states, that one state to actually assert its independence needs to have a certain protection where others don't intrude into their either their territory or even into their internal affairs, so that the internal affairs of countries are guaranteed for them without any interference from outside bodies. So that is the true meaning of independence, and that is how it is crafted to deal with these issues of sovereignty. But of course, you can always talk about the double standards, where when infractions are going on, like some leaders changing constitutions to give them additional terms, or even abuse of the fundamental human rights and freedoms of the people are going on, and ECOWAS, under the guise of non-interference on the principle of sovereignty, allows things to go on. And then when it deteriorates and gets to a point and some of these things happen, then they then forget that that country, even under military rule, still has the principle of sovereignty protecting it as a territory. And there they can see that they have a right to intervene. So you see the double standards that comes. And I think that it's a way in which, as a sub-regional grouping, it is important for us to get our acts together. It's good that he has been freed to ensure that the current rulers reorganize the country and return it to constitutional rule.
All right.
I mean, I've always said that Africa, the only solution to our problem of protecting the interests and aspirations of our people, giving them a better life, is for Africa to unite.
Okay. Let me stay with you, because yesterday I'm sure you followed the lecture by Dr. Baumia, and he raised a number of issues, but one of such is that the NPP has managed the economy better than John Dramani Mahama. He did some comparisons. He put parity with the performance of the CD, etc., 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 looked at it in terms of percentages, and concluded that if you look at the spate of increment or depreciation rather, they have performed better than the NDC. Maybe let's just watch this video briefly on the lecture. When I come back, Honorable, you will have the floor, and I've seen that you've actually made some notes, so you're going to educate us or explain to us what you took away or you took out from the lecture, which was organized by TESCON yesterday, headed by Dr. Baumia. As they described it, Baumia speaks on the economy. So let's watch this video. We'll be back shortly, and we'll listen to the Honorable Ibi Husseini.
Between 2013 and 2016, but moved from a deficit of 1.7 billion in 2016 to a surplus of 1.1 billion in 2017, a larger surplus of 1.8 billion in 2018, and an even larger surplus of 2.2 billion by 2019. The impact of COVID-19 has seen a reduction in the surplus to 2.04 billion in 2020 and a further reduction to 1.1 billion in 2021. Nevertheless, this is still a much stronger performance than the trade deficit of 1.7 billion recorded in 2016, which, ladies and gentlemen, the positive trade balances resulted in a narrowing of the current account deficit as a percentage of GDP between 2017 and 2019, but a subsequent widening of the deficit in 2020 and 2021 as a result widening of the deficit in 2020 and 2021 as a result of COVID-19. Even that notwithstanding COVID-19, our current account position between 2017 and 2021 is much stronger than that between 2013 and 2016. Improvements in the current account performance and increased capital inflows have helped to boost Ghana's international reserves. The data shows that gross international reserves increased
right. So that
from...
was Dr. Baumia there giving a lecture yesterday. Honorable Bifseni, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, Kwame.
Yes, sir.
For me, what he did, number one, was like attempting to collect his salt in the open after a heavy downpour. So it was an exercise in futility. Kwame, we had Ghanaians crying for the past 2 years, okay? In the face of excruciating economic hardship. They were asking that, where is Dr. Bawuya? And all these things have gone on, Kwame. He metamorphosed from an economist to IT and then into a bus driver. He was not seen anywhere. Only to come and when Ghanaians expect him to say things that touch their lives. Look at what he was saying, Kwame. Kwame, I feel, especially as a Muslim, Kwame, the Ramadan is the most exalted month for Muslims. And so as a Muslim, in fact, even if you are doing certain things that are not good, the Ramadan is the best period. You can repent anytime, but Kwame, the Ramadan is the best period around which you should repent and come back to your Maker and ask for forgiveness. So if you have been telling lies, Kwame, the last time you should tell lies is Ramadan. It's an exalted month in the eyes of Allah Almighty. And so I felt very sad that he even chose this month, this sacred month of Ramadan, to do what he did.
What did he do?
Kwame, I'm shaming you that your head. You see what is coming. Terrible. Kwame, some of them outright lies. And Kwame, I want to say this. As politicians, and it is for us, the political elite, including all of us, myself, you, Sabo, and all of us who are part of the political elite. Kwame, we must show respect to the good people of this country. We must not look down upon on them as people who are ignorant and incapable of discernment. Kwame, let's respect their sensibilities. When they give you a job to do and you cannot do that job, be humble enough. Kwame, eat humble pie and admit your failure. Even as you struggle to point a way forward. be humble enough to say that, look, on this score, A, B, C, D, I have failed. It has not been possible for me, given the promises that I made to you. Kwame, he reduced his work to an attempt to compare between MPP and NDC. But beyond the comparison, Kwame, he and the MPP and the Nana Akufo-Addo, they had made a litany of promises to Ghanaians, taking their manifesto as well as their electoral platform talk. And they painted a picture in 2016 that Ghanaians were undergoing difficulties. Economic growth was not up to scratch. That borrowing was reckless, irresponsible, and that no government which cherished the development of this country should engage in borrowing of that magnitude, or even borrowing at all. And that even as for them, when they come, they will not borrow. The money is here, Sikanu, Ewaha. They will not borrow. And that they were going to move the country from taxation to production. They were going to work on a lean government, a government of austerity and sacrifice. Kwame, that will work on making life better. And Kwame, that they will put money in the pockets of Ghanaians. Ghanaians, remember. They will put money in the pockets of Ghanaians. Kwame, we'll come to that. E-levy, where he conveniently ran away from. I didn't talk about. Today, they have not only abysmally failed to put money in Ghanaians' pockets. They are taking the money that Ghanaians have in their pockets. They are seeking to take the money, the little money Ghanaians struggle to live on, to survive, to buy food, to buy medicine, to buy things to cater for their daily well-being. Kwame, they are pillaging that money from the pockets of Ghanaians. Kwame, let me first and foremost tackle some obvious, excuse me, I mean, that is what is it. I can't call it anything. It's a lie. A lie is a lie. When he peddled that the West, for any economic growth figure, was under President Mahama. Kwame, I've said it here before, that the worst economic performance under the aegis of the Fourth Republic for any particular year was the 0.4% economic growth in 2020 under the MP, under the Akufo-Addo, Dr. Bawumia. Yeah. Under his watch, 0.4. That is the worst record. So he has lied there. In fact, the best economic performance record for any year was 2011 under the NDC. When President Mahama was the chairman of the economic management team, and President Mills was the president of this republic. 2011, over 14.1% growth never has been attained before. So he lied. And he lied as a Muslim during Ramadan. He needs repentance. Kwame, beyond that, another lie. Kwame, go and take the fiscal deficit. He talked about fiscal deficit. And he said that their fiscal deficit was 4%. Another blatant lie. Kwame, and I'm going to give you these figures for you to compute. Because I'm not just going to say it for anybody to say, even by their own budget statement figures. In 2017, the fiscal deficit under the MPP was 3.8%. Kwame, 2018, 7.0%. 2019, 7.5%. That is, even when they said they had lied to Ghanaians and given the IMF different figures. I'm not even good. I'm giving what they themselves said. 2019, 7.5%. 2020, 15%. Kwame, take your pen and do an average. It will give you close to about 8.5% deficit. He went and said theirs was 4%. That is a lie. That is a blatant lie from the vice president. Kwame, that the overall performance of the economy, the macroeconomic indicators are strong. That is a lie. Because Kwame, even the president in his State of the Nation admitted that the economy currently is tottering. But they are taking steps to try and see how they can rescue it from the woods. Look at the picture he came to paint yesterday. Kwame, you see, the evidence, they say the sweetness of the pudding, it's not in the aroma it emits, it's in the eating. Kwame, it is only under the economy of Nana Akufo-Addo, Dr. Bawumia, that they say the economy is buoyant and the life of Ghanaians are worse than ever before. Kwame, I cannot envisage a situation where an economy is buoyant and the people, their lives are getting worse by the day. Every day things are getting worse and worse and worse. Week to week, month to month, year to year, things are getting worse. And yet, you say that the fundamentals are so good. Kwame, what economic indicator under this government is working? Revenue disarray. It's a gulf. They can't meet their revenue target. And that's why they projected a deficit in the budget of 37 billion or more in the 2022 budget. They by their own projections. Okay? Kwame, expenditure. They themselves came around to even say that, hey, they have to do some 20% cut and then even go on to cut discretionary expenditure. It's not working. Kwame, inflation is hit the roof. So Kwame, I want us to look at the indicators, because if they are even making comparisons, Kwame, some of the comparisons between Day and President Mahama, I'll give you a few, and you see which of them is better. Okay, Kwame, and these are indices that give a direct impact on the lives of the people. Kwame, fuel prices. In the run-up to the 2016 election, the MPP indicated, both in their manifesto and on the campaign trail, that when they come, they will reduce fuel drastically. Kwame, those were the worst. Okay? Drastically. Kwame, a gallon of petrol was about 14.6 cedis. A gallon. Kwame, this is a gallon of 14. Okay? Kwame, my understanding of saying that you have done better than somebody is that if the person sent the economy, say like in the case of fuel prices, he sent it to 40 cedis. If you claim that you are going to do better, you must bring it down from the 40 cedis to say 10 cedis. I lie. Is that not the way for you to say that you have done better?
Yep.
You cannot tell me that you have done better when you take it from the 40 cedis and it increases way beyond the 40 cedis. And you tell me that you have done better. You can only do better when the situation of that person, where you said it was a difficulty, you have improved upon it and made it more affordable for the people. So you cannot tell me that under President Mahama, when a gallon of petrol was about 14.6 cedis, today, Kwame, that same gallon of diesel or petrol has gone to 50 Ghana cedis. In fact, some filling stations are selling it 11.4. Okay? So, Kwame, if you take something from 14.6 to about 50 Ghana cedis, a gallon, by no stretch of any logic, unless you say we are working on our heads, you want to work logic on his head. If our heads are properly screwed on our necks, Kwame, by no stretch of logic can you tell anybody that you have done better by taking fuel prices, which you inherited at 14.6 to 50. And you tell us that we should clap for you, you have done better. Unless you are taking the people to be fools, which Ghanaians are not. In fact, they are more intelligent than you, the person talking. Okay? Kwame.
Yes, sir.
We are talking about a situation where the city, and that determines, and go and talk to a lot of businessmen, some of whom are getting their monies at the Forest Bureau today, that from about 3.8 under President Mahama. Kwame, correct it to 4 cedis to $1. Kwame, if you want to tell me that you have done better in the management of the exchange rate, that 4 cedis should have been brought down to about 3 cedis or even 2 cedis. I lie. And in their campaign trade, they went round. I remember where Dr. Bawumia and Nana Akufo-Addo said that they are going to match the dollar CD for CD. And it will make sure that 1 CD, $1. At a point, Nana Akufo-Addo will say 1 CD, and the crowd will shout $1, $1, 1 CD, 1 CD, $1. They were shouting 1 CD, $1 at their distance. Kwame, if they had managed to bring the dollar to 1 CD, Kwame, I would have sided with them that they have done a fantastic job of the management of the economy. That is when you can call an improvement. Kwame, you take it from about 4 cedis, not even full 4 cedis, Kwame, and bring it to 8 cedis. In fact, as at the last week, when it was 8.5 cedis to $1.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
More than double. We have more than given double jeopardy to business people and others who do business with foreign currency. Import, export. Kwame, is that the improvement that he's talking about? And this is his record. Kwame, we are talking about the cost of living. Kwame, almost every conceivable item has gone up. I've said that their prices have gone up, except those of us who are vertically challenged. Our height has not increased. But everything on the face of this country has gone up. Coming to the point that today, sachet water, I hear is now being sold for 30 pesos.
40.
Worse than that. Kwame, every conceivable item has shot up. People have compared. Kwame, today, as I speak to you, Kwame, I'm struggling to get sugar for my constituents. Kwame, last year by this time, when we were doing this particular thing during the Ramadan, Kwame, we were buying a bag of sugar 150, 160. Kwame, today go and ask people how much is a bag of sugar. Some are selling it 415 Ghana cedis. 400. Kwame, from 1 something to 400 and something. Can you believe it? Look at a bag of cement, which was going for 28 cedis a bag. Today, they are saying 60, 61, 65 cedis a bag. Kwame, kenke, which was 50 pesos, in pesos, went to 2 cedis. Kwame, when I took that kenke to Parliament.
Yes.
You remember it?
I remember it.
That time, even that emaciated kenke was 2 cedis.
Yes.
Today, that kenke is now gone to 3 cedis again. So kenke under Nana Akufo-Addo, the Dr. Bawumia, a staple of Ghana, is being sold for 3 Ghana cedis.
You cannot be lying about kenke because that's your favorite. Yeah.
Kwame.
I know.
Okay?
Kenke.
Kwame, to the point that today, the Nana Akufo-Addo, Dr. Bawumia government has acquired the unenviable status as the government with the highest ever food price index in this country. 17.5%. Kwame, the highest food index, inflation today. That you go and buy an item, by the time you leave and come back again, the price has gone up. It's like the story of the German hyperinflation. After World War II, where very soon, if care is not taken, we'll be pushing wheelbarrow full of money to go and buy some few items. Under this government, Kwame, now you talk about borrowing. The notorious Yetisikasu in Sukomdie. Yes. Kwame, that this country is awash with money. And Dr. Bawumia indicated that he has worked at the Bank of Ghana. And
You have to change this.
and that he knows that the money is here because he worked at the Bank of Ghana. He knows that the money is here. You don't need to borrow to develop the country. That's what he said. These are his words. Kwame, let's match that in practice under their word. And they want to hide behind sometimes percentages to hoodwink people.
Yeah.
Kwame, Ghana's total debt and the interest rates and others are calculated, are not calculated on the basis of percentages. They are calculated on the basis of the quantum of borrowing.
Yeah.
Okay? So, if at the time of taking power from President Mahama, the total indebtedness was 120 billion cedis, which you described as excessive. Because he said it was a product of excessive and irresponsible borrowing. 120 billion. Kwame, today as I speak to you, our total indebtedness has gone beyond 400 billion under Nana Akufo-Addo. 400 billion Ghana cedis. Said to be about 86% of debt to GDP. 400 billion. So Kwame, if you take something from 120 to 400, if 120 is excessive, what are we going to say about 400? If you accuse somebody of taking it to 120 and that person is irresponsible, is reckless, what shall we call you when you take it to 400? Kwame, can we get a dictionary to coin what language we shall use on you? And that is the story of this government. That is what we have done. Said that today, Kwame, under President Mahama, when debt service took us 10 billion, today it's taking us about 50 billion Ghana cedis. 50. And this is the admission of Honorable Ken Ofo-Datta, the finance minister himself, that after we have met our interest rate, interest payments, compensation, Kwame, we don't have any, and even some parts, statutory payment. We don't have anything again. Even if they are going to do drink tea at their conference, they have to go and borrow. This is the economic management that anybody can come and tell us is better off. And I'm saying that, so Kwame, put all these things together. You know, look at how they've devastated the agriculture sector to the many farmers. And you see how low it has sunk. That even fertilizer to, as it were, enable farmers boost production. Somebody was telling me that the chief executive officer of Cocoa Board said that the fertilizer will not come, so they should learn how to use Akoko Bini.
Yes, he said it.
Can you see how low we have sunk under these hopelessly uninspiring leaders? Visionless, clueless. Kwame, you can see clearly that under President Mahama, when even we're distributing fertilizers free to cocoa farmers, even now they can't even get their fertilizer to buy. And when you talk, they say Russia, Ukraine. So Kwame, that's why I was saying that today, if the nanny goat behind President Nana Akufo-Addo, if that goat should miscarry, they will say it's Ukraine. Ukraine and Russia. Anything that happens, they will lay the blame on Ukraine and Russia.
Okay, I understand that for me.
But many of the things that we all know, Kwame, predated both Ukraine and COVID. If it is not COVID, it's Ukraine or both. It is the product of the crass incompetence with which they have catastrophically mismanaged this economy into a ditch. Kwame, so there's a lot to say on this, Kwame. But all said and done, what was the import of Dr. Bawumia's speech yesterday? Kwame, is it not the Akan people say that you are three people, so forgive me if I don't see it well. Say Kasatiti and Tomponko.
Yes, yes.
No, be so.
Yes, you try.
You talk plenty.
No, they buy horse.
You go feed by the horse.
No.
Huh?
No.
But we have it.
Sabo Agbamile. Niye to apanku to den now. She atumla besuruguni. That plenty talk can buy a cow. unless you put your hand in your pocket and bring the thing out. That is why we buy the cow.
Bonko is not cow.
No, I'm giving you the one in Dagbani. The Dagoma say plenty talk, no, they buy cow. I can't say that Kasatinti and Tom Poko.
I like the way you mention it.
Kwame can say it better in fact. So, after all the big talk yesterday, Ghanaians are back to living excruciating hard lives on the ground. After talking that thing, go to Malata market and see if anything has reduced. The price for a lonka of gari or maize or granules, after all the things he said yesterday, go there and see the price is going up. It's not coming down for the ordinary people. Kwame, when we're coming, go and buy petrol and see whether after they would have said, oh, Dr. Bawumia has spoken, petrol prices have come down. You will buy the same petrol. Okay? The excruciating cost of living for the people. Match it against the paltry wages and salaries they are paying workers. Kwame, you remember they announced that the misery, I think 4%. You remember? That 4% increase they announced for workers before they started this round of increases. To the point that, Kwame, between January and we have just entered April, January and March, fuel prices had gone up 11 times. Okay? Kwame, never in the annals of our country's history, the worst credit rated for the last 2 decades, worse. C, and that is the last junk. That's the junk status. C, junk. We have not gotten it at any of our government. Nana Akufo-Addo, Dr. Bawumia, under their government. Junk. They have rated our economy. Moody's and Fitch. To the point that they got this in, and they said they were taking Fitch and Moody's to the United Nations. It's not United Nations matter. It's your economy. That's why I say the panacea for hunger is not to hot food freezes in your stomach.
They said the pure water is not 40 pesos again, no, it's 50 pesos.
Which one?
The pure water, they said it's 50 pesos now. You mentioned 40 pesos.
Well, I mean, every day, that's what I'm saying, that every day, everything is going up.
Nobody said
I'm just saying that except our height.
Okay. Honorable, respectfully, if I can leave you here and then listen to Sabo.
I'm just saying that Ghanaians, after Dr. Bawumia conveniently chose, and Kwame, let me say this before I come to this final point. MPP and Dr. Bawumia and Nana Akufo-Addo promised that they'll put money in the pockets of Ghanaians. I lie.
Yeah.
This one, they are not the one who said it. All Ghanaians heard it. That they'll put money in our pockets. Kwame, has the money coming to anybody Ghanaians' pocket? At least, even if you have let our pockets with the little that we have left in, we will be fair. They have gone and are struggling to bring the e-levy. To impose a wicked, insensitive, callous, extortionate e-levy on Ghanaians. And no, that President Nana Akufo-Addo chose his own birthday to rub salt into the wounds of Ghanaians. I have never seen any person who is so insensitive that even on your birthday, you want to impose, you'll be celebrating hardship, the imposition of hardship on your people. Kwame, this is what we have now. In spite of all this that they've done to Ghanaians, they have come to add this e-levy, pain and insult to Ghanaians.
Honorable, if I can move to Sabo now.
So, yes, so Kwame,
yeah,
it is clear about the cluelessness, the crass incompetence with which they have grossly mismanaged this economy into a dish, where today our lives are nothing to write home about.
All right.
And so, Ghanaians, after he had conveniently chosen to run away from matters of the economy, for all this while, would have expected something, Kwame, would have expected him to come up with something significant that would touch on their lives. That this morning, Kwame, they would have seen some improvement in their lives. As we speak this morning, what has happened to Kwame? Even pure water now, they are all going up.
50 pesos.
They are going up.
Okay.
Life is becoming more and more excruciating and difficult for Ghanaians.
Okay. Well,
and yet, you look us in the face without any iota of respect for Ghanaians and tell us the story.
All right.
And especially, like I said, for him, I feel very sorry.
Okay.
That he'll be saying this in Ramadan.
Thank you very
When
much.
there's supposed to be compassion and mercy and fellow feeling for your not only your fellow Muslims but other members of society.
Thank you,
I
Honorable.
feel so disheartened.
Thank you.
That this is the quality of leadership we have in.
Thank you very much, Honorable Davis. Let me now come to you, Sabo. You also have the floor, please. Flow.
Thank you, Kwame. Kwame, I think Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, yesterday
Let's allow some.
made our day. Honorable ABFC
Don't be distracted.
asks why
Let's allow Sabo, please. Sabo is trying so hard to focus.
You are distracting me.
He really did this in order to disorganize. I can't.
You see, I know. Don't worry. Don't worry. In fact, this will not affect my thoughts at all. It wouldn't. It
No, I want
wouldn't
to distract you.
at all. What is going on? Big boy, don't forget I'm fasting.
But if you are fasting, you can look at the menu. Looking at the menu that you make your fasting.
I understand.
Viewers don't know what you have seen. What the eyes have seen, only if the mouth could say or could speak. Anyway, Sabo.
Well, in fact, all this while, my brother was asking what even called for yesterday's presentation. Oh, I thought they were the people call on the vice president to speak on the current situation of the economy. For about 3 months now, they've been calling upon the vice president to come out and tell Ghanaians what is happening to the economy. And now that he has responded to your calls, we are again asking why did he even come? So, Kwame, maybe my brother should give me a proverb to fit into this. In fact, because I don't know how to describe this particular situation. Anyway, we have you, so we'll still manage you people, no matter what you do. Because the leadership of the country is in our hands, and it is our duty, regardless of whatever behavior you put up, for us to make sure that we are on the right course. Kwame, in fact, I cannot make an attempt to even go through 1/8 of what the vice president presented yesterday. But I will just try to respond to some of the issues raised by my elder brother, and then further add some few ones, that is, if time allows me, to our viewers.
You have 3 minutes.
I've heard you, Chief Distractor. He was asking that we said we were going to transform the economy of this country from tax-based economy to production-based economy. And this is where we are. I'm surprised. I am surprised. You see, that saying Nakan, that akukos etc. akoma enye fe. So regardless of whatever effort the hen will put into its dancing move, will never attract the hawk. The hawk will always remain a hawk, a hunter. So, what I want my elder brother to understand, and the NDC to understand, is this: that at least with all these problems that are going on in this country, and I'll come to this. I'm going to broaden it. In this country, let me limit it to this country first. FDI is far, far, far better than their regime. 8 years. We have not even gotten to the 8th year. FDI is far, 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 far better. Oh, I thought we have Android phone so that you can catch me and then tell me these are the figures. No, you just Google and catch me. Normally I speak to the facts and I'm fasting. And even when I'm not fasting, I hardly lie. I will never lie. I will tell you as it is. Secondly, Kwame, under one district, one factory, over 100 factories are now operational. Hitherto, all these organizations were not there. And for that matter, productions were not going in those areas. In fact, I was just having a discussion with my brother Bernard Mona, me going into farming this year, joining him on the farm. What do you call it? Planting for food and jobs. We know what it has brought onto this. In fact, hadn't been the intervention of this planting and food and jobs during the COVID-19, only God knows what would have happened. Most of the food that were distributed were locally produced food. And nobody can argue about that. Locally, there were no any foreign food that were distributed. And I can keep on counting. So at least I just use FDI to just let them settle the whole issue. The kind of production this that we are talking of. Even just I think about a week or so, or even after a week, the Nissan company has also come to establish their base here. Am I right?
Yeah.
Which adds up to the production that we are talking about. So I have answered that one. Then the second one, he was saying that 2011, this country recorded the best economic performance. That is true. I agree with him perfectly, and I will never dispute this. But we are talking about economics. We are talking about facts and figures. How did they arrive at this? Because I remember the GDP growth, this thing went up to 14%. Kwame, they took over in 2009. 2010, 2011, and we had these figures. Cocoa production increased to 1 million metric tons in 2011. Oil proceeds started coming in 2011. What do you call it? Gold prices also increased, were on the highest descent. So all these things, the question or the fundamental question that I would like to ask is that, is there any breed of cocoa that takes less than 2 years to mature? I want to find out if there's any breed of that cocoa. So definitely that was not their labor. That was the previous government's labor, President Kufuor's labor. Oil, they know very well, they did not discover it. And all the investment that was put in place for the harvest, they only came to harvest. Gold, the prices of gold were, high on the international market. They increased. So many factors came into it. Kwame, but the irony of this is this. The same 2011, the highest deficit ever was also recorded in the same 2011. Under their watch. So they should stop. If I were them, we would not be mentioning these things at all. Kwame, the third one that he also talked about is that prices of crude oil keep on increasing. That we inherited a price that was down, and now look at where the prices have gotten to. Kwame, the simple question I want to ask here is this. When they were in power, what was the price of crude oil per barrel on the world market? Today, he should juxtapose that price to this price and give me the price that we should, the OMCs should be operating with. He should tell me. We are talking of reality. We are talking of facts. He should be able to tell me their time. What was the price of crude oil? Today as we talk, it has never happened in the history of this world that crude oil, price of crude oil will go up to $140 per barrel. Under them, it was around 40. But what was the price of oil, fuel in this country? Put the percentages, strike the percentages, and see who is actually even pricing fuel high and who is pricing it lower. We should stop this kind of what do you call it, deceit, and always speak to the facts and face reality. And I think that is the only way it can help us as a country to move forward. Because governance is continuous. It doesn't matter whether it's NDC or MPP. The country must continue to develop. Kwame, I think I can see that my brother Baramona is signaling you time. I wouldn't want to have problem with him. I know him very well. Inflation.
Yes, sir.
As we were talking about. Look, between 2013 2016, the average inflationary figure was around 17.5%. Between 2013 to 2016, the average inflationary figure was around 17.5%. Before COVID-19 strike, the average inflationary figure was 7.2%. With even COVID and all these things, the average today as we speak is 10%. Yeah, the average. I'm not talking of the current. The average. When you strike the average. I'm using the averages.
Okay.
Yes. No. But when I'm going to read that one, you yourself, you know that you think. Oh, no. Forget. Yours, Kwame, COVID-19 is not an isolated case of Ghana.
Yep.
It is a worldwide something. And I'm told that since, is it 1912 or 19, I stand to be corrected, somewhere 1912 or something like that, there has never been any economic meltdown like this before.
Right.
Their time, Dumso was not in Togo. Dumso was not in Cote d'Ivoire. Dumso was not in Burkina Faso, let alone to talk of the other countries that are joining. What didn't happen in this country? Companies collapsed. Families collapsed. Lives were lost. The economy collapsed. Sheer incompetence. This country was set back. And today, we are talking of issues that even America, which has never recorded higher inflationary figure today as we speak, are battling with higher inflationary figure. We are talking of a situation where UK, the almighty UK itself, is now battling of higher inflationary figures than the rest. And we are talking of the fundamentals. Tell me, which of even in the midst of this COVID-19, that you did better? Just bring one of them and let us examine it. Is it interest rate? Is it lending rate? Is it inflation? Is it GDP? Or what? Or is it what do you call it? The deficit? They always look. Their strength in argument, in trying to argue out or say that they did better in the economy, is about the debt to GDP ratio. When any NDC man will talk about the economy and it doesn't mention our debt to GDP ratio, then that person don't feel that he has finished his talk. He's just warming up. That the government will have a saying that if a diarrhea is going around a house, it is a landlord. Thank you very much. So their landlord in the economy today is the debt to GDP ratio. So when you see an NDC man talking about the economy, just wait until he mentions debt to GDP ratio. Then you know that this man is now speaking. Kwame, let's come to that one. You agree with me? I am not a banker. Neither am I a financial analyst. But the little I know about this area is that when you are servicing a debt, and that debt is time bound, is that not it? Mm-hmm. We have what we call our simple this thing, we have what we call simple interest and compound interest.
Yeah.
Is that not it? As for the simple interest, at least that is the one me and you we easily understand. It's a straight one. Is that not it?
Yeah.
But the compound keeps on folding as the time also keep on extending. Is that not it?
Yeah.
And I'm told servicing this kind of debt alone is also a debt in itself. Is that not it?
Yes.
So, are they telling us that the debt that they have agreed that yes, indeed, they brought it up to 100 billion Ghana cedis. That debt, as at the time they exited power, they were able to service that debt and then gave us a clean sheet for us to start on a clean note. And for that matter, we should be responsible for whatever accumulation is accrued in the servicing of this debt. Look at the fundamentalists talking about fundamentals. So Kwame, I mean to wind up, because you were saying you were talking of time. I wish, in fact, I wanted to go, but if you are talking of time, I will not belabor myself very much. We know that the executive
Yes, sir.
are in charge of the physical aspect of our economy, and then Bank of Ghana is in charge of the monetary aspect of our economy. And it is the two that should cooperate to be able to make the economy resilient. If one is putting in more effort and the one is not actually doing well, the effort of the Bank of Ghana will not take us anywhere. In the same way, if the executive is also doing very well and Bank of Ghana is also not managing the currency very well, we'll still land into the same destiny. Today, as we talk, Kwame, we know landlords in this country, as we speak today, who normally take rent in dollars. They don't take rent in cedis. We know people who even sell cars or buy cars in dollars in the country here. Ghanaians and the rest. And you tell me, how do you make the city stronger? How do you make the city robust, resilient against the other currencies? If you yourself look down upon your own currency and then make it weaker against other currencies, and yet you still want that currency to perform. And I will not be surprised that members of the NDC, especially the leading members of the NDC who have huge sums of money in their account, are deliberating today transacting businesses in foreign currencies instead of the city, just to put pressure on the city, and then turn around and tell the people that you see what is happening to the city. You see the incompetence we are talking of. The Dogomers have a saying that if your colleague passes bad air on you and you do not exercise patience and you say you want to retaliate, what happens?
You bring out the real thing.
The real thing.
Thank you. So, Bernard, take us home. Honorable, today, someone is challenging you with this proverb.
Kwame, let me say,
They are not situated in the
let me say
Yeah.
that I was one of the people who had called on the Vice President to apply the theories that he propounded whilst in opposition to the economic crisis that we had, and that the situation that we find ourselves is indeed at variance with the theories that he propounded. And in particular, that it appears that government action over the past 1 year or so is to invalidate almost all the theories that Bawumia propounded. One, moving away from taxation to production. Two, that electronic transactions levy is not the way to go because the poor are affected. And three, that we must halt the exodus of Ghanaians so as to stay them in the country. Yesterday, just a cursory look will tell you that the Vice President was struggling. And sometimes when he made some of the things that he wanted to put as positives, I said that no, there was not real thought through in the processes. Kwame, one of the successes that he touted was the drive to digitize the economy. And digitization did not start today. It started a long time ago. As somebody remarked, the vice president will even end up saying that he created the mobile phone. Because mobile phone and internet are the basis for us getting digitized. No so. And so computers and electronic gadgets, none of these were done under Bawumia. So these infrastructure or hardware, so to speak, have been in existence. And so Bawumia cannot claim credit that somebody has created fire and you have come to just go and continue. Later to go and continue to do your food, and you come and take credit for it. Then those who brought the internet, those who brought the concept of the mobile phones and other electronic gadgets, they will be taking much more. Kwame, listen, he said, and this I listened with rapt attention, that in 2016, total number of Ghanaians that applied for passports were 16,000 people. 16,000 people. And that in terms of revenue, it amounted to about 9 million Ghana cedis. But as of 2021, total number of people that applied for passports are 480,000, which amounts to about 56 million in terms of revenue. And that is a plus. And he was saying that we did not get it, the link between digitization and economic development. First, passport is not just a mere identity. Alaji, passport, and it's not a mere identity. Passport is actually a document to enable travel. So if 2016, many Ghanaians were unwilling to travel, and you had only 16,000. And by 2021, 480,000 people are trying to flee your country. There is a problem. What are they running away from? And these are people of all backgrounds. Some are professionals who have abdicated. You know that the GES has to come to increase employment for teachers because many teachers have resigned. Where have they gone to? So you should be worried that there is a decline in people's interest to want to stay in your country. There is something wrong. There is something wrong. And so we should be careful some of the figures we put across. Number two, the vice president was, as usual, elated about economic growth and all that. And I was like, this theory still exists. I thought that we should be concerned about economic development and not economic growth. As for economic growth, Alaji, it takes place because most of the commanding heights of your industries or the sectors are owned by foreign groups. The local participation and local ownership is insignificant. Even the contractors we have, Alaji, majority of the contractors working in this country are foreign-based contractors. You go and take euro bonds and come and pay them in their euros. They take the money away. Your local contractors are not paid. When you have to pay your local contractors, you ask them to go to Fidelity Bank. You owe the local contractor. You say that they should go to Fidelity Bank if they want their monies to be paid. So they take their documents and contract documents, go to Fidelity Bank. Fidelity Bank will pay them less 20%. Then you, the government, will now pay Fidelity Bank the full value of the contract. Government is no more directly paying our contractors. So somebody is in link with Fidelity Bank and taking a cut. This is the challenge we face. So you see that yes, there is growth in the economy. But our people are suffering because as soon as the growth is taking place, these people repatriate their money. And one of the most warped, probably wicked arguments is to suggest that factories in this country have been built to the extent that no other government, including Kwame Nkrumah, was able to build the kind of factories. Which factory has President Akufo-Addo built that is owned by Ghana? I'm looking for one that is owned by Ghana and the Ghana government, and the shares that the Ghana government has. All the factories that Kwame Nkrumah built were state-owned factories.
Right.
Were state-owned factories, absolutely owned by the Ghanaian people. And that will be taking revenue aside profits on these factories. If you come and decide to give out monies to people and go and put your signages, as the ABO say, there is a motor company in Tamale, you go and put your signage there and say that you have created one factory in Tamale. That one will serve as factory for you to come and count.
Like the motor king one they did.
This is clearly an attack on our collective conscience. Because we are talking about what do we have, not what do others have. And so I have a very major problem. You understand? Then worst of all, when did the Russia-Ukraine conflict start?
Barely 3 months ago.
It's not up to 2 months. Now, you have in the same lecture touted the success of your planting for food and jobs, and that agriculture productivity has increased. And then you come and say that the surge in food prices, Alaji, and Sabo, listen, the surge in food prices is a result of the Ukraine war, because Ghana imports 30% of our wheat from Ukraine. Wheat, not maize. When you were talking, I kept quiet. When you were talking, I kept quiet. I deliberately kept quiet. You wanted to invite me in saying that I was talking to Kwame about time. I ignored you. Wheat. Kwame, I don't imagine the last time you took a meal of wheat.
When I was a baby, I think when I was
I don't imagine the last time you took a meal of wheat. And that 30% of our wheat comes from Ukraine. And can I make my point? Were you not here when I was like this?
Okay, you continue.
You think that I did that without purpose? I did that because I don't want you to come in. So wheat, because we import wheat, 30% of our wheat from Ukraine, and Russia is beating Ukraine. Because of that, food prices are soaring. So maize prices are going up because Ukraine wheat is not coming again. We are importing cassava because Ukraine wheat is no more coming again. It doesn't gel. Nobody has said that Ukraine, Russia's beating of Ukraine has no effect. But to come and use that, say, look, we have done so much within the planting and food sector. And then all of a sudden, 2 months, the economy is crumbling. Food prices are in a different world. Then we only find solace in the fact that I'm sure that the next time we'll be looking for how China will go and attack Hong Kong. Then we'll use that as the basis for which we are suffering economic difficulties. See, Vice President said they have accounted for the loans that they have taken. Really? After all, loans should be taken. I thought that it was in the same Kaswa where the Vice President touted the fact that he has worked at the Bank of Ghana before, and that this nation doesn't need to take any loan in order to do the development that we need in this country. So today, the Vice President is telling us that after all, government has to take loan in order to develop certain sectors of our economy, without admitting that I lied to the people of Ghana that, look, I told you that we didn't need loans. But when we came, we took more loans than any other government since the inception of our independence as a nation. The Vice President fails to do that. One of the challenges that the Vice President also told us was that, look, we are in this crisis because we gave you water for 1 year free. You gave us water. Alhaji, I don't know, Sabo, because you have been living in Accra. Where I live in Sankana, there is no pipe-borne water. There was no tanker services. So where? In fact, is it the borehole or the wells, the dams, the streams that we drink from, that the Vice President provided water for us for 1 year? Lifeline consumers, you gave them reprieve for electricity. But even soon after the period, what did you do? You quickly imposed COVID-19 tax on us so that you can retrieve the monies that you spend on us. How will that be the basis for which we are in this economic milieu? Then you are talking about one of the factors that, aside Ukraine and COVID, that also led to the economic crisis we have. And you are talking about financial sector cleanup. And where is Professor Adai? Where is the paper? I think the Herald.
So you can actually just...
The Herald. Professor Adai has come to say that it was unimaginable, and this was self-imposed, that you spend 21 billion Ghana cedis to collapse banks. Banks that were struggling, you go and take 21 billion to come and say that banks collapse. When you could have used the 21 billion to rather bring back these banks to sustain employment and to ensure that they grow. I'm not the one talking. This is Professor Adai. And Professor Adai, everybody knows him. He was chairman for the National Development Planning Commission and also chairman of the Ghana Revenue Board, GRA. He is saying that these factors are responsible for the economic mess that we find ourselves in. So for me, honestly, even as I prayed that the Vice President should come and speak, I was of the full hope that he was coming to tell us that indeed these challenges are self-imposed. And that too, we miscalculated our expertise. And we thought that the solution was just by mere talking. Unfortunately, the Vice President came to give us more promises and more hopes. As I said, the digitization did not start with the Vice President and will not end with him. In fact, the process of digitizing, Alhaji, will continue. Look, let me give you an instance. Which sector of the economy has been digitized before? Can I make my point and you stop?
Go ahead.
Listen, under Edward Salia, we started the expansion of the telecos. Right? We started. And that, under Edward Salia, look at the time Edward Salia was minister. And that led to the infiltrations. From there, you know what we used to have? It was part of digitization. Was it not phone booths that were created? You needed to go and buy a card to go and do, and that enabled us to do a lot of communication in the universities. Yeah. We had lines on every floor, so digitization has been improving. Not long ago, in order to go and do internet, even to do internet facilities in this country, we had internet cafeterias. Busy internet was flourishing. Remember, almost everybody that matter will have to move wherever you are to go to Circle Busy Internet to go and do. Before we started having small internet cafes. Today, our internet cafes are on our phones. This was not done by the Vice President. In fact, many of the things that the Vice President is talking about, digitization, the world is moving faster than all of us. We used to use manual typewriters. We have moved from manual typewriters to desktops, and today our phones are now more than our typewriters and our offices. So when you come and take how the world is evolving and then you custom it to say that that is the work of the Vice President, then we have a problem.
Thank you, Bernard.
You understand?
Yeah.
And in Pesa, if you go to Kenya, this use of mobile money and what have you did not start from here. It started from Kenya.
We are talking of
Thank you.
So all these things happened. So today, if the Vice President is coming to talk about how mobile networks are able now to connect so that you can take money from one network to the